Hey everybody, Kyle Meinke here from MLive.com, joined by the Kevin Duffy of MassLive.com. He's the Patriots beat writer for us at MassLive. Getting your thoughts on Matt Patricia. You've covered the man for a few years now. What are your thoughts on the man the Lions are getting as their head coach?
I think it's going to be really interesting because in New England it was always hard to decipher exactly how much of the defense was credit to Patricia and how much was credit to Belichick. I think what we learned over the years is that Belichick really trusted him and he regarded him as probably one of the smartest guys he's ever worked with. So now Patricia gets full control and full say over who's playing, who's not. Obviously in the Super Bowl that was more Belichick than Patricia. So it'll be interesting to see schematically what he does, how he takes this Lions roster and molds it to its strengths, because that's what I think the Patriots defense was always good at. They figured things out as they went along in the season. Oftentimes they started off very slowly, but they figured out which personnel would work best in which groupings, and they figured out which schemes would work for them. So they did a good job as the season went on.
Yeah, you look at their numbers in terms of adjustments. The second half of the season, they always seemed to play better than the first half too. At the Super Bowl, I talked to a lot of Eagles players, offensive players, about the Patricia defense, and they all noted the in-game adjustments and stuff like that. Why was he so good at making those kinds of adjustments?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that they've, just as a staff, they're just better prepared in New England than they are in other places, and part of that is what the guys like Patricia and some of the defensive coaches learned from Belichick. And also, I mean, Patricia's a guy who's just, he's grown a lot. He's been around the game for a long time. He's learned from the best, and they just, what they did, they were very multiple up front on defense, but they basically played the same kind of coverages every game. Like they were pretty basic in their coverages, I would say, but they found ways with a pretty poor front seven this year especially to generate pressure when it wasn't necessarily guys winning one-on-one battles. So
and one of the guys that we saw do that was Kyle Van Noy, which obviously Lions fans know quite well. He's a second-round pick a few years ago. Lions traded him for about the football equivalent of a bag of footballs or so. Why was he so successful so early, do you think? Well, that's the question all Lions fans are asking.
It is, and I think it's a combination of things. He took to the coaching well. I think he took to change the scenery well, and they were able to put him in spots where he felt his strengths were being utilized. Early on when he came to New England, actually, he was utilized as a pass rusher quite a bit, but really toward the last couple of years of his career in New England, he's been an off-the-line linebacker. He's been in coverage. He's played a little bit on the edge too. So I think there's a reason why he was picked in the second round. Like he's a talented player, and Belichick and Patricia were able to extract that potential, whereas the Lions staff, for whatever reason, just wasn't able to do it.
Now we've seen Belichick disciples over the years go off and try to do their own things, and we've seen them largely fail, at least when it comes to coaches. Do you have a sense of, what's your sense of what Patricia's going to be like once he gets away from Belichick, and do you think he can be successful?
I think the one thing Belichick disciples, and they've learned this because there's a pattern, you can't try to be Bill Belichick. You have to be your own person, and oftentimes you look at Mangini, Greg Schiano, although he's not technically a Belichick disciple because he didn't coach with the Patriots, very close. When he went to Tampa Bay, from what you read, he tried to kind of rule as like a dictator, and that doesn't really work if you don't have the cachet of Belichick having won the 3 Super Bowls in his first 4 years in New England. So I think that it's going to be a process probably for Patricia to figure out exactly how he's going to manage a team. It's a new position for him. I'm sure that as much as he's learned, there's going to be some growing pains, I'm sure, but you've seen it already. He's got a little bit more personality to him than he showed us in New England. And I can tell you that all the players in the locker room absolutely love that guy. And when you talk to them, they're always going to say positive things, but you can tell it's genuine just because of how much they go on and on about what Matt Patricia has meant to them. Just what they also mentioned, like what a funny, outgoing guy he is, which we in the media never saw. But I think that's important in cultivating a work atmosphere that players want to be in. So all those things are going to be important for Patricia when he's in Detroit.
Last thing I'll ask you, we'll get out of here. What was he like just on a personal level to deal with? What can Lions fans expect from him as a dude, as a personality?
He didn't really show much personality with us, to be honest with you. He was always respectful, but he wasn't, said a lot of words that meant very little, and that was pretty much it. But no, I did a story a couple of years ago where Matt Patricia, as you know, he was an engineer, pretty successful applications engineer in upstate New York before he decided to get into coaching, and he just totally dropped his engineering career. So I contacted the people that worked with him at his company, Hoffman Air and Filtration Systems, I believe it was, and they all just talked about how personable he was, how he could connect with all different sorts of people, and that's what made him an effective sales engineer. And it almost translated to coaching because you're connecting with people of all different backgrounds, and as the head coach, certainly you're going to have to do that. So I think on a personal level, I don't know what he's going to be like in the public spotlight with the media, but I can pretty much assure you he's going to connect well with his players, and that's what's most important.
That's what we got for right now. We should have mentioned this at the top of the video, but we're at the Combine, as you can probably see behind us. Baker Mayfield just drew a hell of a crowd here behind us. Some of the other guys coming up too. We'll be all over it at MLive from the Combine here in Indianapolis. For Kevin Duffy, I'm Kyle Meinke. To keep it right here.